Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about something very informal. I don't have a script or anything, but it's been something that's been on my mind for quite a few days actually. Ever since we got confirmation of the third episode and hints of what it's going to be about, where it's going to take place, specifically in human areas. Something just clicked in my brain and caught my mind and caught my attention. And today we're going to be going back and reviewing the trailer for the Icebrood Saga. Now that we're kind of in it for a couple months, and it's a nice to look back on the things that they have produced in relation to what they've actually released. Sorry in the background, it's very hot today and I'm sweating. So I'm trying to reduce the background noise as much as possible. Nevertheless, the whole reason I'm doing this is because trailers often, for like a movie trailer or an expansion trailer, you typically get a sense of the story structure. You get a sense of the introduction, the rising action, maybe a hint of a climax, and then the falling action. Trailers are basically story summaries. We've never really had a trailer of this style or of this magnitude for a Living World Living World season, which they have now rebranded as sagas. So the trailer could be different from past trailers that we have seen, mostly because from the images that they have shown, and I'll get into this a bit later, I feel like they have basically shown us the whole course of the saga, but in brief, abstract snippets. So I have the trailer up here, and we're gonna start and kind of commentate on the images that we see in relation to the releases that have been released, and then maybe speculating on releases that have yet to come. So let us begin. I don't know what's better. I think it's better if I just click instead of the space bar, because the space bar, I have a cherry keyboard and it's very loud. So let's begin. We start with the ArenaNet logo, of course, and then we get this scenario of a bird and Jormag talking. And so it is of this very first image where we see the bird, which is, in probably relation to possible Norn topics where they are in tune with nature, the raven spirit, owl. I think owl's dead. I think owl's fully dead, but possible hints at the Norn. But the very blatant reference here is to the char, which we got in episode 0. We got in the prologue. We went to Grothmar Valley, and the background was probably in reference to Grothmar Valley. Additionally, we have Jormag talking, and I'm pretty sure it has since been confirmed that Jormag is speaking to Bangar Ruinbringer. It makes more sense considering the imagery that we see when it first starts off. You fear something far worse than death. You fear not being able to protect those that you love. And that seems to be Bangar's narrative in a way. He's trying to take the power of Jormag, to bend it to his will, in hopes of, doing some good in his eyes. Of course, villains always are trying to do the good, quote-unquote, good thing that they believe. However, they tend to go against the norms of the society, and it ends up being more of a rule-breaking, law-breaking event. But that's neither there. So this could be in reference to the prologue, and I think it has been, considering we get the flames, the Flame Legion, the possibility that Bangar saw of the char being eradicated and snuffed out. And then we move to this shot, where it's of a Coden, and a Coden being buried. Specifically, this is on a lake. However, the lake might be a bit more just, in reference to the surrounding area from Bjorn Marches. I think this shot is commentating and touching on the first and second episode. primarily the second episode, I would say that we got, Whisper in the Ice, I think it was called. But in the second episode, we finally saw the Coden, and throughout the dialogue, we heard that the Coden have been lost to the Whispers of Jormag. Jormag finally convinced most of the Coden to go and fight for Jormag and be one with Jormag and be corrupted. And that left the existing Coden camp that we have in-game to have their numbers dwindled. And you can kind of catch it during the very first story instance for episode 2, where you're talking to, I forgot his name, but the main Coden guy. He basically is saying that a lot of the Coden in the area have been being swayed by Jormag. And I think this could be representative of this, funeral. They're losing Coden. They're losing their brethren. And hey, they might also be dead because of the attacks. I think that's another possible interpretation. The first interpretation I offered was maybe a bit more abstract, but this could also just be in direct reference to the fact that the Coden are dying because the Svanir and Icebrood are assaulting places and trying to capture people and turn them. So this could be in direct reference of episode 1 and episode 2. The setting of it being on the lake, Bjorn Marches is very close to the lake area. Granted, I think the lake around that area is probably frozen in ice, but there of course could be some melted areas. And the sun. I actually really love this shot. This shot is actually really beautiful in my opinion. So we have episode 0, the prologue. We have episode 1 kind of hinted at here, but mostly episode 2. Now let's continue on. We get this nice zoom out. Oh, the coloring is so great. This is what directly drew my attention. We have centaur and humans. What in the hell have we seen about humans and centaurs and all that stuff right now? Well, this could be in direct reference to episode 3 and possibly episode 4. They could do another one map for 2 episodes. I'm sorry, the background noise. Similar to what they did with Bjorn Marches, where they had the first episode in half the map, the second episode in the other half. This could be in reference to episode 3 and 4. Possibly 4. Granted, we don't have confirmation that episode 4 is in this area. But definitely episode 3. We are going to the Woodland Cascades, the human areas up north from Lake Doric. We have never been there except for in the raid. But granted, that raid was more underground and a prison. Bastion of the Penitent, that is. So for this, I think this is showcasing the story narrative that we have taken so far. Prologue, Grothmar Valley. Episode 1 and episode 2, Icebrood, Conan, Icy. We're in the Shiver Peaks. Episode 3, this is a direct transfer over to the Woodland Cascades, where we're probably going to end up, coming into contact with centaurs. Could you imagine Icebrood centaurs? I don't know if we have those already. That would be really cool. And of course, the centaurs are, doing bad stuff to humans. So of course there would be human prisoners and enslaved prisoners there. And they're probably ordering them around. And maybe these centaurs, if they are Icebrood and corrupted, they might be sending the humans to be corrupted by the Svanir magic and Icebrood and Jormag's magic. It'd be no different to the Mordrim collectors, where they would go and collect Savari and, the members of the Pact airship who survived the crash but were captured by Mordrim. Oh my god, I love Heart of Thorns. Ugh, I want to go back and play Heart of Thorns. It's really good. It's good. It's good. So this is probably episode 3. Some tortures, some centaurs, and then we get possibly, of course, could be episode 4, but, if they continue to do multiple episodes within a single map, this could be 5 and 6. We see a ship on fire and an emphasis on water. Once again, I'm not too sure what this is about because we have not had any confirmation or hint at what this could be. However, we have had confirmation that we're possibly going to Cantha. I mean, we all know at this point we're probably going to Cantha. Hey, Bangar Runebringer in the Visions of the Past, the instanced version with Ryland and Bangar. He said so he can stretch his influence from Tyria to Cantha, or from the Shiver Peaks or, the Char Homeland to Cantha. He specifically mentioned Cantha, so they're definitely dropping seeds. With this, we would have to cross an ocean to get to Cantha, and we haven't really used a lot of ships. So this could be an instance of we're chasing them. Maybe they are starting to head to Cantha, and we have to stop them, and we have to potentially, get them back. Or maybe they're trying to go somewhere across a large body of water. Maybe Bangar escapes, or perhaps Bangar does come into contact with Jormag during the duration of episode 3, maybe 4, and gets corrupted. And that idea of corruption, hang on to that with Bangar Runebringer. Or maybe even Ryland. You never know. But hang on to that idea of the Char, prominent Char characters being turned. So we're going to continue on with this shot. We end up going under the water, and I think we see some Norn and other individuals. So it's a ship attack. And in the background, you might be able to notice some Naga. Not Naga, Crate. I always get those confused with the other fantasy creatures. Thank you. Motorcycle. People, stay inside. Stay inside. What happened to social distancing and quarantine? We're not out of the woods yet. We're drowning like these Norn are. Stay inside. I live in California. People are so impatient. But getting back to the topic at hand, we can see some crates, and this is, of course, this whole entire video is opinion and very interpretive and all that stuff. But the whisper and voice of Jormag has a crate model. It has a crate model! So this could be possibly another voice being used. Maybe Jormag woke up and started to spread more voice, create more of its minions, which happen to look like a crate. So this could be that. This could be perhaps a Norn got corrupted, or a Norn was inhabited by the voice, similar to how Drakkar was inhabited. But there's a lot of possibilities with this one. There's not too much that can be concretely, clarified, because we haven't seen anything with ships, with water, with traveling on the seas of Tyria. So this one in particular is very questionable and up for interpretation. Of course, this could be hints of a deep sea dragon as well. Perhaps the deep sea dragon Bubbles, or Slaybub, does not want to sit quiet all the time. Maybe they're starting to act up. You never know. So that is this shot. Let's continue on with the next couple of frames. So if that was 5 and 6, this will be 7 and 8. Maybe just, some maps are one episode at a time. You never know. Here we have probably a transitory or transition shot. We have that bird once again. So the whole saga probably goes through this narrative. It started with the Char. We had episodes of the Norn. Then we had, we're going to be having more episodes with the Char, with Bangar in the human lands, because they've moved. They're going to another area. And then with the water, that had a Norn, so possibly Norn are trying to fight off or go somewhere or obtain something. And then they have to come back. So once again, we're going back to the Norn now. And this seems to be a bunch of people coming back from fighting. There are arrows in that Norn's shield. They seem to be worn out, and the spirit of Raven is probably guiding them to this, to maybe Holbreck, or maybe just to a lodge. See, a Norn there collapses. I don't know who these players or characters represent. They could just represent the Norn as a race, in conflict with Jormag, and possibly now, the Char, because Bangar is not doing a whole lot of good. But the background could be Holbreck. It could just be a lodge. But they are definitely trying to get back home. So this could be the point in the Icebrood Saga where the action kind of takes a lull. This is kind of the falling action from possibly the climax. Or this could be leading up to the climax, which we might see in the next shot. But nevertheless, this could be a transition shot to lead up to possibly the next final big moment in the story. Or this could be an actual hint at a possible episode where we are rallying forces. I really hope this is all making sense. And then we get this shot. This shot, I'm going to move a little bit more, could be the climax of the Icebrood Saga, or this could be the conclusion. I guess you can conclude on a very epic moment and have that catharsis and denouement. But I think this shot, because it is the last couple shots for the trailer, is hinting at the end. In the Path of Fire trailer, if you recall, we actually got a shot of Balthazar when he was dying. No one knew what it was. It was just Balthazar looking into the camera. And that was actually in the domain of Vavi at the very final instance with Balthazar, where you fight him and he dies. So, if we follow along, once again, with trailers and narratives, this could be the final. And specifically, that is a char. That is a char. I'm unsure if we've seen a lot of Icebrood char currently. However, with Bangar's intentions revealed in the latest Visions of the Past, he wants to go and make contact with Jormag. He is willing and forwardly going towards Jormag. He wants to enslave Jormag. And of course, everybody's saying, that's not how it works, you're dumb. And he's probably going to find out the hard way. He's probably going to end up being corrupted. However, I think Jormag would probably realize that this Bangar willingly came forward and wasn't necessarily corrupted by the voices as we have seen. He was probably touched by Jormag, possibly at some point, but from what we've heard, it seems like he is doing this on his own free will. It's not about the dragon corrupting him. He has said he wants his own dragon champion, just like the commander has Aurene. However, the commander and Aurene are a symbiotic relationship. Aurene is her own individual, her own dragon, she has her own agency. Bangar wants to enslave Jormag, so that's not necessarily going to be working. I think. I don't think anybody thinks it's going to work out for him. So this could be the final episode for the saga, where Bangar is corrupted and possibly is like the head, the figurehead, or the champion for the Icebrood and the Svanir. Jormag is using him as a lieutenant, similar to the three Mordrum commanders. I forgot their names. Harathi Axemaster, the Seer with the staff, and then I forgot her name, with the one with the bow. You guys know, if you guys have played Path of Fire, not Path of Fire, if you played Heart of Thorns, you know the three commanders and, like, you know, Dragon Stand. So this could be another, you know, commanding position for Bangar. He is a char of power and a char of influence. Where they're heading is even more interesting. They're coming out of the storm, and they seem to be possibly at Holbreck or in some other Norn settlement. But this is very Holbreck to me. We see Ritlock. We see we see Ritlock, we see Bram, and we see Javi. And we see a bunch of characters in the background, possibly Char, probably Norn as well. I would heavily imagine that Char and Norn would eventually join forces to fight Jormag and fight presumably Bangar if he gets corrupted. So, with this, the final episode possibly could be an assault on Holbreck. And I think that would be so cool. We had an assault on Lion's Arch. We have not had another assault on a major city. in quite a few years, actually. So I would love it if Holbrook would be attacked and we would have to do another battle for Holbrook. But instead of just fighting Scarlet, a humanoid Sylvari with multiple alliances and other races, we have to fight and defend Holbrook from Jormag. I think that would be so cool. Additionally, Javi is wielding a shield, and she's a necromancer. Has anybody ever thought why Javi uses Scourge magic? Why is she a Scourge? Why is she a Path of Fire specialization? Did she study in the desert? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Javi will eventually possibly take up a shield, and this could be a hint at a specialization Necromancer gets with a shield. You know, they love to hint at elite specializations with necromancers. They did it with Marjorie. They might do it with Javi. Honestly, I don't know why she uses Scourge magic. I think that has always, like, irked me in a way that isn't super deep, but, you know, nevertheless, is kind of weird. But we see Ritlock, so presumably Ritlock is still alive. He doesn't necessarily die. We don't see Krisha, though. This could be just a trailer choice in terms of limiting the cast, having 3 main figures, with Ritlock, of course, Bram as another Norn, and Javi as the commander, as we see now, the commander of the Vigil, since Almora's passing. So that's another thing. We never saw Almora in these trailers, and they probably knew that Almora would eventually die pretty early on. And then, of course, we had the visions of the past, which, you know, extrapolated and gave Almora a bit of a better funeral. Let's continue on. I think eventually she's wielding an axe and a shield. Shield necrohype. We see probably Bangar come forth. And then we see this shadow of Jormag. I think by the time the Icebrood Saga comes to a close, Jormag will 100% have awoken. Jormag is still, you know, sleeping, however, is spreading their influence through the Whisper of Jormag. Hey, in the background, just to quickly point out, we have the commanding Char in the front, encrusted in ice, and then even behind them, we have another Char character. We might see other Char throughout this lineup, but the other Char could be Ryland, or it could be Krisha, but it could be Ryland. Ryland does seem to be very what's the word? Seems to be very attached to Bangar and is willing to follow his orders. Very loyal, that's the word. So Ryland could end up succumbing to Jormag as well. However, Ryland seems to also have differing goals. He had a couple lines in Visions of the Past where he talked about, like, when the time is right, I'll do something, or something along those lines. So I'm not 100% certain that this is Ryland. I think Ryland is an interesting character and could have more to do with the Icebrood Saga. However, we see Jormag, and I think it'd be so cool if Jormag... we have this Faunir location within Holbrook, but I think Jormag will eventually start to come out of their shell and do some not nice things to Holbrook, possibly. Or another Norn settlement. Of course, this is not confirmed to be Holbrook. However, I think it's only, you know, fitting for Holbrook or a very major Norn settlement to be attacked. This could be, of course, you know, the very starting area of the Norn race, but you never know. And we have the final swoop of this bird, Raven, finally being corrupted. You never know if Raven, the Raven spirit, will die. Will Raven go forth and fully line itself with the Norn and act in a way that Owl has and completely try to defend it, but eventually die and become corrupted? Could these Norn, for people who are like Raven shamans, this could, it's not very owl-like, but this could be a representation of owl or like a bird. Could they be corrupted themselves? How are these Norn going to fare with the possibility of another spirit dying? You never know if they will die. This could, of course, be more figurative in terms of representing the corruption of Norn, corruption of more Norn, and just overall Jormag's power. But this final shot of Jormag and the Char and the Icebrood facing off against other Norn and Char, defending a location, I think it is very interesting. I think that upon retrospect, and with the hints that we have gotten, and the presumed trajectory of the Icebrood Saga, which we have seen, considering we got confirmation of the third episode being in the Woodland Cascades, Woodland Highland areas, and the trailer showcasing these shots in this sequence, I think it's not so far off to see that this is probably where the Icebrood Saga is going. We never really had an idea of this because when the Icebrood Saga first released the trailer, we had no clue. We had absolutely no clue. We didn't know what that shot of the Grothmar Valley was with the Char, with the Flame Legion. There were flames. The Flame Legion eventually becomes nice. We had no idea what the Coden. We saw Coden in episode 1 and 2. Well, mostly 2. And then we're now going to be seeing these wooded areas in episode 3. We might eventually see a sailing expedition or some other water episode come. And then the episode after that, we're rallying our forces to defend ourselves from Jormag. How that will end up, we don't know. Of course, everything I said in this trailer, apart from the things that we already know, could be completely wrong. Of course, they're still probably adapting the story, making fine adjustments. However, they released the trailer. This is a trailer for the saga. Let's not forget that. They probably have these very key major plot points already established, and they're probably just filling in the details. That's typically how you write. You want to have a concept of the end to be able to work backwards and have a climax, have that rising action, which we have seen in episode 1 and episode 2, and probably in episode 3 now, and probably have, an epilogue of sorts which would hopefully lead into the Cantha expansion. Let's just roll this out for the sake of it. We get Guild Wars 2, the Icebrood Saga. Prologue, of course, Bound by Blood, released very soon after the trailer was released. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you for coming to my spoken essay, my analytical essay on Guild Wars 2, the Icebrood Saga trailer. These are my thoughts. I kind of want to post this to Reddit, but I'm very scared because Reddit is a scary place and a lot of downvoting. For what reason, I'm not too sure. However, I hope you guys found this very interesting in the interim of waiting for the next episode. It's always nice and cool to go back and watch the trailers. Hey, I might even do a trailer analysis in retrospect for Path of Fire, because Path of Fire had a lot of similar plot points and plot structures where they had an introduction to the characters, the conflict, they had some climactic moments, and then of course they showed a portion of Balthazar, beginning to die. So thank you everyone for watching. This was the post Icebrood Saga trailer analysis, halfway through, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Like the video if you liked it, comment down below your thoughts on the trailer now that we have some episodes and have hints of where the story is going, especially in terms of, the Cantha expansion, all that stuff. Yeah, subscribe for more videos. I have all my links down below. This will be going out on Patreon. First, you guys can, of course, head over to Patreon if you wish to support me during these times. And those are all my plugs. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone. Mwah.